The stars were burning. Outpost 7 was dying, and Commander Park knew it. He stood at the center of the evacuation corridor, his rifle hot in his hands, his armor cracked and covered in blood, some of it his own, most of it not. Behind him, 2,000 civilians ran toward the transport ships, women carrying children, old men helping each other walk, young people with fear in their eyes. Did not look back, he could not afford to, the enemy was coming. The Dominion had ruled 17 star systems. They were tall creatures, nearly 3 meters high, with scaled skin and 4 burning amber eyes. They did not conquer worlds for resources. They conquered worlds because they believed the universe belonged to them. Every other species was either a slave or dead. For 3 years, humanity had fought them. For 3 years, humanity had lost. But Commander Park had never lost. Not once. He was 31 years old, the youngest fleet commander in the United Earth Defense Force. People called him the Lion of Europa because he had held the line there when everyone said it was impossible. He had saved 10,000 lives that day. Today, he would try to save 2,000 more. The first wave of soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor, raised his rifle and fired. One fell, then another, then another. But they kept coming. He fought for 36 hours. He did not sleep. He did not eat. When his rifle ran out of power, he picked up another from a fallen soldier. When that one broke, he used his pistol. When the pistol was empty, he used his knife. The civilians escaped. Every single one of them made it to the transport ships, heard the engines roar as they flew away to safety. He smiled, it was worth it. Then the general arrived. Was different from other, he was bigger, stronger. His scales were darker, almost black, and his 4 eyes burned with a cruel intelligence. He had personally conquered 11 worlds. He had killed millions. He enjoyed it. Walked through the corridor filled with dead soldiers. He looked at the bodies, then at the human standing alone at the end of the hall, was barely standing. His left arm was broken. His leg was bleeding badly. He had 1 knife left. Laughed. It was a terrible sound, like rocks grinding together. "You killed many of my soldiers," said. His voice was deep and cold. "You are brave for a human, stupid but brave." Said nothing, he raised his knife. Moved faster than anything that big should move. He grabbed by the throat and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. "I will make an example of you," said. "The whole galaxy will watch you die, and then humanity will understand that resistance is pointless." Looked into those 4 burning eyes. He was not afraid. He had done what he needed to do. The civilians were safe. "My people will never stop fighting," said quietly. "Kill me. Kill 1,000 more. It does not matter. You will never break us. Squeezed, we will see." The broadcast went out to every corner of human space. Every screen, every device, every station showed the same thing. Commander Park, bound and bloodied, kneeling on the steps of the flagship, stood behind him holding a ceremonial blade. "Humans of Earth," announced, his voice echoing across the stars, "your greatest warrior kneels before me. Your hero is broken. Watch now and understand your place in the universe." Looked directly into the camera. He did not beg. He did not cry. He simply nodded once as if saying goodbye to everyone he loved. The blade fell. The galaxy went silent. On Earth, billions watched in horror. In military bases across human space, soldiers wept with rage. In government buildings, leaders argued about what to do next. But in a small apartment in Seoul, a woman sat alone in the dark. Park was 34 years old. She had dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore plain clothes. There was nothing remarkable about her appearance. If you passed her on the street, you would not look twice. She had not spoken to her brother in 3 years. Their last conversation had been a fight. He wanted to rejoin the military after their parents died in an attack. She begged him not to go. She said he had done enough. She said he would get himself killed. He went anyway. She was too proud to call him and apologize. Now she would never get the chance. Watched the broadcast until the end. She watched her little brother die. She watched hold up the blade like a trophy. She watched the general smile. Her teacup fell from her hand and shattered on the floor. She did not notice. For a long time she simply sat there. The apartment was quiet. The city outside continued its life, but for time had stopped. Then something changed in her eyes. The grief was still there, but something else appeared beside it. Something cold, something hard. Had left the military 5 years ago. She had been an intelligence officer, one of the best. Her was the phantom because she could go anywhere, find anything, and disappear without a trace. She had done things that no official record would ever mention. She had been good at her job, too good. She left because she was tired of the darkness. She wanted a normal life. She wanted peace. Now peace was gone. Her brother was gone. The only family she had left in the universe was gone. She stood up slowly. She walked to her closet and opened a hidden panel in the back. Inside was a box she had not touched in 5 years. Inside the box was a phone, a gun, and a folder of contacts. She picked up the phone and made a single call. A man answered on the 3rd ring. "Director," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "This is Park. I am coming back, and I need everything you have on General." There was silence on the other end. Then the man spoke. "I am sorry about, but what you are thinking, it is impossible. Is the most protected being in the Dominion. You cannot reach him." Looked out her window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, her brother's body was floating in the cold emptiness of space. "I do not care if it is impossible," she said. "I do not care if it takes me 10 years. I do not care if I die trying. That creature took everything from me, and I am going to take everything from him." She ended the call. The Phantom was coming out of retirement, and General had no idea what was coming for him. 6 months passed after Commander Park's death. The war continued. Humanity was losing. 3 more colonies fell to the Dominion. Millions more humans became slaves or corpses. The news was always bad. Every day brought another defeat, another loss, another reason to despair. General became a legend among his people. He was the one who killed the human hero. He was the one who made humanity bleed. Children learned his name in schools. Soldiers dreamed of serving under him. But then strange things started to happen. It began small. A supply ship disappeared, then another, then 3 more. The military investigated but found nothing. No wreckage, no signals. The ship simply vanished. Then the information leaks started. Secret battle plans appeared on human intelligence networks, fleet positions, security codes, weapon designs. The information was always correct. Human forces started winning small battles because they knew exactly where the enemy would be. Was furious. He executed 12 officers for suspected treason. He changed his security codes every day. He moved his flagship to a new location every week. But the leaks continued. Then the assassinations began. Commander, one of his most trusted lieutenants, was found dead in his quarters. His throat was cut. There were no witnesses. The security cameras showed nothing unusual, just empty corridors, then a dead body. 2 weeks later, Admiral died the same way. Then General, then 3 more senior officers. The Dominion was being attacked from the inside, and they could not find the attacker. Tripled his personal guard. He slept in a different room every night. He trusted no one, not even his closest advisors. He became paranoid, seeing enemies in every shadow. He was right to be afraid. Park had spent 6 months preparing. She did not rush. She did not make mistakes. She studied her enemy like a scientist studies a disease. She learned everything about his battle tactics, his personal habits, his psychology. She read every report about him. She watched every recording of him. She learned the language so she could understand what he said to his officers. She found his weakness, pride. believed he was untouchable. He believed no human could ever reach him. That arrogance would be his downfall. But could not do this alone. She needed help. Her first recruit he was 28 years old, thin and pale from spending too much time in front of computer screens. He was the best hacker in human space. He could break into any system anywhere. The military had offered him a fortune to work for them. He refused. Found him in a basement apartment, surrounded by empty food containers and glowing monitors. "Why should I help you?" asked without looking away from his screens. "The military does not care about people like me. They only call when they need something." Sat down across from him. "Because you have a daughter. She is 4 years old. She lives with her grandmother in. You send them money every month, but you never visit because you are ashamed of what you do." Finally looked at her. His face was pale. "If they win this war," continued, "your daughter will grow up as a slave, or she will not grow up at all. I am not asking you to fight for the military. I am asking you to fight for her." Was quiet for a long time, then he nodded. The second recruit she was 30 years old, tall and strong, with short black hair and cold eyes. She had been a Marine sniper before an attack destroyed her entire unit. She was the only survivor. She spent 3 months in a hospital and another 6 months drinking herself to death. Found her in a bar in Singapore, picking a fight with men twice her size. "I heard you can hit a target from 2 kilometers away," said. Laughed bitterly. "I used to, now I can barely see straight. I am going to kill General, the one who murdered my brother. I need someone who can watch my back." His eyes changed. The bitterness faded. Something else took its place, interest. She said, "That is impossible. Everyone keeps telling me that. You will die." "Probably." Smiled for the first time in months. "I was going to drink myself to death anyway. At least this way, I get to take some of those bastards with me." The third recruit was Minu. He was 45 years old, a former military engineer who had designed weapons for the Earth Defense Force. He was brilliant but difficult. He argued with his superiors so many times that they eventually forced him to retire. Found him in a small workshop on the outskirts of Tokyo, building things no one had asked for. "I designed a neural disruptor that could paralyze her for hours," Minu said, showing her a device no bigger than a pen. "The military said it was too expensive to produce. Too expensive. As if money matters when we are fighting for survival." "Build me one," said. "Build me whatever you need. I will pay for everything." Minu looked at her with curious eyes. "Who are you?" "Someone who is going to give you a chance to use everything you have created. Someone who is going to let you hurt the people who hurt us." Minu smiled. It was not a kind smile. "When do we start?" The team had no official name, but among themselves, they called their missions Ghost. They operated from a hidden base in an abandoned space station. They worked in complete secrecy. Planned everything. Gathered information and disrupted networks. Trained for the moment when bullets would be needed. Minu built weapons and gadgets that the military had never seen. Months passed. The attacks on supply lines continued. More officers died. More secrets leaked. The Dominion grew weaker while humanity grew stronger. Admiral, commander of Earth's remaining fleet, received anonymous messages with perfect intelligence. He did not know where they came from, but he used them to win battle after battle. Screamed at his officers. He demanded answers. He executed more suspects, but he could not find the enemy that was destroying him from the shadows. One night looked at with worried eyes. "You have not slept in 3 days," he said. "You need to rest." Shook her head. She was studying the layout of his flagship for the 100th time. "I will rest when he is dead." "You are going to burn yourself out before we even get to him." "Then I will burn." Looked up. Her eyes were empty and cold. "Do you understand what he took from me? Was not just my brother. He was the only family I had left. Our parents died in an attack 5 years ago. He was all I had, and I let 3 years pass without speaking to him because I was too proud to apologize for a stupid fight. Her voice cracked slightly. I cannot bring him back. I cannot fix my mistakes, but I can make sure that creature pays for what he did. That is all I have left. Did not know what to say. None of them did. But they understood. They all had lost someone. They all had their own reasons for being here. And they would follow Park into hell itself, if that was what it took to complete the mission. The opportunity finally came 3 months later, announced a victory celebration aboard his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. Ambassadors from conquered worlds would attend. It was a chance to get inside. Called her team together. "This is it," she said. "We have one chance. If we fail, we die. If we succeed," she paused, "we probably still die, but dies with us." Checked her rifle. "Good enough for me." "Mean you activated his gadgets. My work is ready." Cracked his knuckles. "Their systems will not know what hit them." Looked at her team, these broken people who had become her family over the past months. She felt something she had not felt in a long time. "Hope. Let us go hunting," she said. The Dominion's Wrath was the largest warship in the fleet. It was 3 kilometers long, black as death, covered in weapons that could destroy cities. It was pride. It was his home. It was his symbol of power. Tonight, it was decorated for celebration. Lights glowed along its hull. Smaller ships surrounded it like insects around a flame. Thousands of soldiers stood at attention while their general welcomed guests from across the conquered territories. Park watched from the window of a stolen transport ship. She wore the uniform of a servant from a vassal species, a simple robe that covered her from head to toe. Her face was painted to look like a member of a conquered people who were often used as servants by the. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. "Systems check," his voice whispered through the tiny device in her ear. He was on a small ship hidden behind a nearby moon, connected to her through an encrypted channel. "I am in their network. Cameras on deck 7 through 12 are now showing a loop. You will be invisible." "Good," whispered back. "Is in position," continued. "She is 3 sectors away in the fighter. Minu's explosives are planted in the secondary reactor. Everything is ready." Took a deep breath. "Then let us begin." The transport ship docked at the service bay, walked off with the other servants, keeping her head down, her steps quiet. Soldiers walked past her without a second glance. To them, she was nothing, just another slave doing slave work. That was exactly what she wanted them to think. The celebration was held in the main hall of the flagship. It was a massive room with high ceilings and walls covered in trophies from conquered worlds, flags from defeated enemies, weapons taken from fallen heroes, skulls of species that no longer existed. And there, hanging in the center of the hall, was Commander Park's military insignia. Saw it and stopped. For a moment she could not breathe. Her brother's insignia, the symbol of everything he had fought for, everything he had sacrificed, was hanging like a decoration, like a piece of art, like something to laugh at. Sat on a raised platform at the end of the hall. He was even bigger than he looked in the recordings. His black scales gleamed under the lights. His 4 amber eyes moved slowly across the room, watching everything, trusting nothing. Around him, ambassadors from conquered worlds smiled and clapped and pretended to be honored by his presence. They had no choice. If they did not attend, their people would suffer. Forced herself to look away from her brother's insignia. She had a job to do. For the next 5 hours she moved through the ship like a ghost. She served drinks. She cleaned tables. She bowed when soldiers walked past, and all the while she was mapping the ship in her mind. She memorized guard positions. She counted patrol intervals. She noted every door, every corridor, every possible escape route. Fed her information through her earpiece, security codes, shift schedules, the location of private quarters. At midnight, the celebration was still going strong, was drinking with his officers, laughing at jokes about human weakness. The ambassadors were starting to look tired, but they dared not leave before the general slipped away from the main hall. The corridors of the ship were quieter now. Most of the crew was either at the celebration or sleeping. Moved quickly, staying in the shadows, avoiding the few guards she could not bypass. "Security shift change in 3 minutes," said in her ear. "Quarters are on deck 3. There is a 12-second window when the corridor will be empty." "Understood." She reached deck 3. The corridor leading to quarters was long and straight. 2 guards stood at the end, massive soldiers in full armor. Waited in the shadows, she counted the seconds in her head. The shift change began. The 2 guards turned to leave. Their replacements had not yet arrived. 12 seconds. Moved. She was fast, faster than any normal person should be. Years of training had turned her body into a weapon. She crossed the corridor in heartbeats, silent as a whisper. The first guard did not see her coming. She pressed a small device against his neck, one of Minu's creations. He collapsed without a sound, his nervous system temporarily shut down. The second guard turned at the noise. His eyes widened when he saw the small human woman standing over his fallen companion. He opened his mouth to shout. Was faster. The second device found his neck before he could make a sound. She stepped over their bodies and approached the door to his quarters, had already unlocked it remotely. It slid open with a soft hiss. The room inside was large and dark. Stars shone through a massive viewport that took up one entire wall. The furniture was simple but expensive, everything made from materials taken from conquered worlds. Stood with his back to her, looking out at the stars. He was not wearing armor, just simple clothes. He looked almost peaceful. "I knew someone would come eventually," he said without turning around. His voice was calm. "The attacks on my supply lines, the dead officers, the leaked information. Someone has been hunting me for months." He turned slowly. His 4 amber eyes found her in the darkness. "But I did not expect a human, and certainly not a female. Your species sends its weakest to do its most important work." Stepped into the light. She removed the paint from her face. She stood straight and looked directly into those 4 burning eyes. Studied her for a moment, then he laughed. "You are not a soldier, I can tell by the way you move. Intelligence, perhaps, a spy." He stepped closer, towering over her. "Tell me, little human, who are you, who sent you, and did you really think you could reach me?" Smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was not a human smile. It was the smile of someone who had already accepted death and had nothing left to fear. "No one sent me," she said. Her voice was steady. "I came on my own. I have been planning this for 6 months, watching you, learning everything about you, destroying your fleet piece by piece from the shadows." His eyes narrowed. "Why?" Reached into her robe and pulled out a small object. It was a military insignia, not the one hanging in the celebration hall, but an identical copy. Her brother's spare, which she had kept for years. "Do you remember Commander Park?" she asked. "The human you killed 6 months ago, the one you executed on the steps of this ship." Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Ah, yes, the hero. He was brave, I admit. He killed many of my soldiers, but in the end he was just another human, weak, fragile." He paused. "Wait, do not tell me." "He was my brother," said. "My little brother, the only family I had left." For the first time something flickered in his eyes. Not fear, not yet, but interest. "And you came all this way to avenge him, alone, against me?" He laughed again. "You humans are fascinating, so emotional, so foolish. Do you have any idea what I am going to do to you?" Did not move, did not blink. "You asked me who I am," she said quietly. "My name is Park. Humans used to call me the Phantom because I could go anywhere and kill anyone without being seen." She took a step forward. But you can call me something else." Her smile grew colder. "I am his sister, and I am your death." His laughter stopped. For the first time in many years, the great general felt something he had forgotten existed. He felt doubt. For a single heartbeat, neither of them moved. General stood 3 meters tall, his muscles built from centuries of combat, his scales harder than steel, his 4 eyes burning with the fire of 1,000 conquered worlds. He had killed more beings than he could count. He had never lost a fight. He was the most feared warrior in the Dominion. Park stood before him, a human woman barely reaching his chest, wearing the robes of a servant, holding nothing but a small military insignia in her hand. The moment broke. Lunged forward with terrifying speed. His arm swung toward her head, a blow that could crush stone. But was not there. The lights went out. Virus crashed the entire deck's power grid in an instant. Emergency lights flickered red, casting strange shadows across the room. The viewport still showed stars, but everything else was darkness and confusion. Roared guards' lights now. But no one answered. His communication systems were dead. His guards outside were unconscious. He was alone with the ghost. "You think darkness will save you," snarled, spinning around trying to find her. His species could see better than humans in low light, but the flashing emergency lights created confusion. "I have fought in darker places than this." Something sharp cut his arm. Hissed in pain. He swung his fist toward where the attack came from, but hit only air. The cut was small, nothing serious, but it was a cut, on him, from a human. "Your people have a weakness," his voice came from somewhere to his left. Calm, cold, almost bored. "The nerve cluster beneath your 3rd rib, your throat membrane, the joints in your knees." Another cut appeared on his leg. Stumbled, the cut had sliced the tendon just above his knee, not deep enough to cripple him, but enough to slow him down. "I studied your species for 6 months," continued. Her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I learned your language, your history, your anatomy. I know where you are weak. I know where you feel pain." Grabbed a piece of furniture and threw it toward her voice. It crashed against the wall. She was already gone. "What are you?" he snarled, fear finally creeping into his voice. This was not how fights were supposed to go. He was the predator, always the predator. But now, in the darkness of his own quarters, he was something he had not been in centuries. He was prey. "I told you what I am," whispered, suddenly very close to his ear. "I am your death." He spun and grabbed, and this time he caught her. His massive hand closed around her throat. He lifted her off the ground, squeezing hard. His 4 eyes blazed with rage and triumph. "Got you," he growled. "Did you really think your little tricks would be enough? I have crushed beings far more dangerous than you." Could not breathe. Dark spots appeared in her vision. His grip was impossibly strong. But she smiled. "The thing about tricks," she gasped, "is that you never see them all." She pressed something against his chest, a small device no bigger than a coin. Minu's neural disruptor activated. The effect was instant. Every nerve in his body screamed at once, then went silent. His hand opened. His legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor like a puppet with cut strings. He was still conscious. He could still see, still hear, still think. But he could not move, not a finger, not a muscle. Landed on her feet, coughing, rubbing her throat. She stood over him, looking down at those 4 amber eyes that had terrified billions. "Paralysis," she explained, her voice rough from the choking. "You will stay like this for about 2 hours, plenty of time." She reached down and pulled something from around his neck. Her brother's insignia, the original one, the one he had worn when he died, had been wearing it as a trophy. Held it in her hands, her fingers trembled slightly. "He fought you for 36 hours, she said quietly. "Did you know that? 36 hours alone against your entire army, not because he thought he could win, because he was buying time for 2,000 civilians to escape. She knelt beside his frozen body. You called him weak. You said humanity would kneel, but you never understood what makes us strong. She looked into his eyes. It is not our muscles, it is not our weapons. It is love. It is family. It is the fact that for every soldier you kill, there is someone who loved them, someone who will never forgive, someone who will never stop. She activated her communication device. Menu, begin. Deep in the bowels of the ship, Menu's explosives detonated. The secondary reactor began to fail. Alarms screamed throughout the Dominion's wrath. The massive ship shuddered. His eyes widened. He tried to speak, but his mouth would not work. Yes, said, answering his unspoken question. Your ship is dying. In about 15 minutes the reactor will explode. Everyone aboard will die, including me probably. She stood up and pulled out another device, a quantum beacon that would broadcast on every frequency in space. But before that happens, she continued, I want your people to see something. She activated the beacon. Across the Dominion, screens flickered. On warships and colonies, in military bases and government buildings, every with a communication device saw the same image. Their greatest general, lying paralyzed on the floor of his own quarters, with a human woman standing over him. People of the Dominion, said, her voice transmitted across the stars. My name is Park. 6 months ago, your general killed my brother on the steps of this ship. He thought it would break humanity. He was wrong. She held up his insignia so everyone could see. My brother was Commander Park. He died saving 2,000 innocent lives. He died standing up, fighting until his last breath. That is what humans do. We do not surrender. We do not forget. We do not forgive. The ship shook again. More alarms. The lights flickered violently. Look at your general now, continued. Look at the mighty lying helpless on the floor. One human woman did this. One sister who wanted justice. She looked directly into the broadcast camera. Remember this moment. Remember that for every human you kill, there is someone who loves them, and that person will come for you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, somewhere, when you least expect it, we will find you, and we will make you pay. She ended the broadcast. Made a gurgling sound. He was trying to speak, leaned closer. What was that? She asked. I could not hear you. With tremendous effort, forced a single word through his frozen lips. Why? Considered the question. You asked me why I came alone, she said. Why I risked everything for vengeance. The truth is, it was never just about killing you. It was about sending a message. She stood up. My brother believed in humanity. He believed that we were worth fighting for, worth dying for. I am going to prove him right, not with armies, not with weapons, but by showing the galaxy that humans never give up, that you can break our bodies, but you can never break our spirit. The ship lurched violently. Metal screamed. The viewport showed flames spreading along the hull. You wanted humanity to kneel, said. Instead, you taught us to stand taller than ever. Thank you for that. She turned and walked toward the door. Lay alone in the darkness, paralyzed, watching his empire burn around him. He could hear his soldiers screaming in the corridors. He could feel the floor tilting as the ship lost power. For the first time in his long life, General knew fear. And there was nothing he could do about it. The Dominion's wrath was dying. Fire spread through its corridors. Explosions ripped through its lower decks. Escape pods launched in every direction as soldiers and crew members fought each other to survive. The celebration guests, ambassadors from conquered worlds, ran in panic, their forced smiles forgotten. Park walked through the chaos like a ghost. Soldiers ran past her without stopping. They had bigger problems than one human woman. The ship was tearing itself apart. Survival was all that mattered now. His voice crackled in her ear. The reactor is going to explode in 8 minutes. You need to get out of there. I know, she said calmly. Then move. What are you doing? stopped walking. She was standing in the main celebration hall. The room was empty now, everyone had fled. But her brother's insignia was still hanging from the ceiling, along with all the other trophies from conquered worlds. She looked at it for a long moment. Shouted, 7 minutes. I heard you. Then why are you not running? She did not answer. She walked to the center of the hall and reached up toward the hanging insignia. It was too high. She climbed onto a table, then onto a display case. Finally, her fingers closed around the metal badge that her brother had worn with such pride. She held it against her chest. I am sorry, she whispered. I am sorry I did not call you back. I am sorry I wasted 3 years being angry about nothing. I am sorry I was not there when you needed me. Tears ran down her face. She had not cried since the day she watched him die. She had been too focused on revenge, too busy planning, too cold to feel. Now, standing in the burning heart of her enemy's ship, she finally let herself grieve. But I kept my promise, she continued, her voice breaking. I always looked out for you, even when you did not know it, even now. The ship shook violently. A section of the ceiling collapsed nearby. Flames licked at the walls. Closed her eyes. She had accepted death months ago. This was always supposed to be a one-way mission. She would die and would die with her. That was the plan. Then's voice cut through the chaos. You did not think I would leave you, did you? His eyes snapped open. Through the viewport, she saw a small fighter ship approaching, a stolen craft that had been waiting in for hours. What are you doing? Demanded. You were supposed to stay back. I was supposed to watch your back, replied. That is what I am doing. Minyu rerouted the escape pod systems. There is one left, base 7, 3 decks down. Move your legs, Commander. I am not your commander. You have been giving us orders for 6 months. That makes you the commander. Now move. Hesitated. She had made peace with dying. She had prepared for it. She had even looked forward to it in a way, the idea of finally resting, of seeing her brother again, wherever souls went after death. But then she thought about, he had a daughter, a little girl who was waiting for her father to come home. If died here, would blame himself. He would carry that guilt forever. She thought about, who had found a reason to live again after years of trying to destroy herself. About Minyu, who had finally been able to use his genius for something that mattered. They had become her family over the past months. They had given her hope when she had none. She could not abandon them now. Fine, she said, and started running. The ship was falling apart. Corridors collapsed behind her. Fires blocked her path. She had to climb over debris and squeeze through gaps that were barely wide enough for her body. 5 minutes, shouted. Base 7 is ahead on your left. Turned left. The corridor was dark and full of smoke. She could barely breathe. Her eyes burned. Her legs screamed with exhaustion. But she kept running. 3 minutes, come on. She reached Base 7. The escape pod was there, a small, simple craft designed for 2 people. Its door was open, waiting. She threw herself inside and slammed the launch button. The pod shot away from the Dominion's wrath like a bullet. Through the small viewport, watched the massive ship grow smaller and smaller. 100 seconds later, the reactor exploded. The flash was blinding. The shockwave rocked her tiny pod, sending it spinning through space. But she was alive. She was out of range. When she could see again, there was nothing left of the Dominion's wrath but scattered debris and slowly fatting flames. General was dead. Fighter appeared beside her pod. I have got you, said. Docking now, let us go home. Home, it was a strange word. Had not thought of anywhere as home in years. But maybe it was time to find one again. The war did not end that day, but something fundamental changed. The broadcast of defeat spread across the galaxy. Every species that had surrendered to the Dominion saw their greatest enemy lying helpless at the feet of a human woman. They saw the mighty warship burn. and they started to believe that resistance was possible. Rebellions broke out on a dozen conquered worlds. Species that had given up hope began to fight again. The Dominion, which had seemed invincible for so long, suddenly looked weak. Admiral launched a counteroffensive, using the intelligence that team had gathered. Human forces won battle after battle. Within 2 years, they reclaimed every lost colony. Within 5 years, the Dominion signed a peace treaty. The war was over. Humanity had won. But Park did not celebrate. She did not accept the medals they offered her. She did not give interviews or write books or become a hero. She returned to the shadows. Some people said she died on the Dominion's wrath. Some people said she retired to a quiet life somewhere. Some people said she was still out there, watching, protecting humanity from threats they would never know about. Only a few people knew the truth. Went back to his daughter. He became a legitimate security consultant, using his skills to protect instead of attack. Every year on the anniversary of the mission, he received an anonymous gift, a toy for his daughter, always exactly what she wanted. Joined the military again. She became an instructor, teaching young soldiers how to fight and how to survive. She never spoke about what happened on the Dominion's wrath, but she kept a picture on her desk, 4 people standing together, tired but smiling, in front of a small ship. Minu opened a workshop where he built things to help people instead of hurt them. Medical devices, agricultural tools, clean energy systems. He never became rich, but he said he did not care about money anymore. And in military academies across Earth, instructors told a story. They told it to young soldiers who were learning what it meant to serve, what it meant to sacrifice, what it meant to be human. They told the story of a woman who walked alone onto an enemy flagship, a woman who brought down the most feared general in the galaxy, a woman who reminded the universe why humanity was never to be underestimated. Not because of their strongest warriors, but because of those who loved them. On Earth, in a military cemetery near Seoul, there was a memorial for Commander Park. His body was never recovered, but his name was carved in stone, along with thousands of others who had given their lives for humanity. Someone had added an inscription at the bottom of his memorial. No one knew who put it there or when. It simply appeared one morning, carved in the same stone as the rest. It said, "He held the line, she finished it." And somewhere in the galaxy, a woman with dark hair and tired eyes watched the stars and remembered her brother. She missed him every day. She would miss him until the day she died, but she knew that he would be proud of her. He would be proud of what she had done and what she had become. She had honored his memory. She had protected his legacy. She had shown the universe that love was stronger than hate, that hope was stronger than fear, and that one person could change everything. That was enough. That would always be enough.